So I started the broadcast.
That's okay. We're just telling people we're just testing things out. So go ahead
Okay.
and test it out, Julie. You've got it. I can see it. And you can go into presentation mode from there.
Okay, Kristie, and can you see, so that's the right way?
Yep. Try
Okay.
stopping so that if you come back and then they'll see just us.
Um, so stop sharing is
Maybe the same button.
working on it.
There you go. Let's do it one
Yeah.
more time.
Okay,
Yep.
now I'm
Perfect.
sharing.
Yep.
Yep,
And
Perfect. I
that's
see
good.
your opening questions. And we're just going to use the questions like we would a chat.
yeah, that's right. And now it's called opening questions, and so we'll call it a,
Yeah. Good
yeah.
change. Okay. How's that feel, Team Brooks?
That sounds great. Yeah, so we can get started at the top of the hour like we planned, but I think now would be a good time we could just, talk about I know you have this exciting PD for Paris course coming up in January, so maybe we could just like tease a little bit of that before we get started officially.
Sure. So folks are on and they can see and hear us, and we're going to use the questions area for a chat. So if you want to say hi while you're getting settled in, we're just going to chit chat, but we'd love to chit chat with y'all. So use the questions. Brianna, what directions do you want to give them just to use that area if they're not familiar with GoToWebinar?
Sure, yeah. So for all of you who are new to GoToWebinar, you should see in your control panel on the right-hand side, there should be a pane or a little drop-down menu that prompts you to submit questions. So throughout today's presentation, or if you just want to say hi and send a friendly message, feel free to type a little note in there, and all four of us, both the Brooks team and Julie and Kristie, will be able to see that. So that's also how we'll be encouraging people to engage throughout the presentation if they want to enter to win the new edition of Julie's book, the Paraprofessionals Handbook, second edition, as well as the PD Preparers course. So, yeah.
Great.
Are we doing all the giveaways at the end, Julie?
Yeah, I think so. We're planning to do all the giveaways at the end. And I'm hoping, Brooks team, you're ready to pull from the questions so that people know who won and we can announce it today. And then you can follow up with an email, right?
Yep. That sounds
Okay.
great.
Great. Okay.
Okay, cool. And so folks, we're just chit chatting. So if you want to let us know where you're zooming in from, which I guess is now webbing from, I don't know, where you're calling in from and how much snow or how much snow you don't have. That's cool. And then, yeah, what else you want to talk about, Julie?
Well, I was just thinking, I'm not seeing anybody typing yet. So what I'd love is, oh, good, Carrie. Hello, checking in from, I'm just trying to practice. So this is
Yeah,
awesome.
we love
Thanks,
it. Thanks,
Carrie.
Karen.
Rhode
We're
Island High
Kelly and I
School.
Zoom so much that we can't do other things well.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie. So Rhode Island, so much snow. Yes.
So where do you see that? Oh, under questions? No,
Yep. Under
I don't.
questions.
Well, Kristie, it looks like when you came back in, we might need to upgrade you again. So I'm going to go ahead and
Okay.
manually do that. Sorry about that. There we
That's
go.
okay. So folks, if you're here, we have 10 whole minutes, but what we love is just like Carrie did, share something, share where you are, share what's going on in your weather, even share something you're grateful for today. So just take a minute and kind of get settled and share one thing you're feeling really grateful about. Today, for me, it would be hot coffee is something I feel really grateful for.
I'm grateful that my dog is asleep on my lap and not bothering me at this moment.
That's
Woohoo!
right. That's good. So go ahead and type. It is not, we actually love it when people interact with us. It's our preference so that it doesn't feel like we're talking to nobody. And
And
then,
if you just got here, don't worry, you're not late. We're just chit-chatting.
And for anyone who just joined, the way you can submit those prompts, if you check the questions pane in your GoToWebinar control panel, you can just kind of share some information, share where you're from, share something you're grateful for. And Kristie, definitely let me know if you're able to see what's coming in now.
Yeah, I can now. Thanks,
Okay,
Carrie,
perfect.
for asking. I have a Pomeranian or Cujo, whichever it might be on a given day, because having a pandemic puppy was not the best
yeah, it's
idea.
really
Thank
cute.
my husband
His
for that.
name is Wizzy and he's really cute, but he is driving Christy right straight over the edge. And then Lori checked in from Plain So I have to click on it, right, Brianna, to see?
Yes, to see the full message.
Yeah, we
Okay,
got
cool.
Head Start, great from the great state of Texas. We got folks from New Jersey. What's MA? Maine? I should know that.
Massachusetts, I
No,
think.
MA is
Massachusetts.
Maine. So Massachusetts?
Yep, yep, that's
Sorry, I'm
awesome.
from Idaho, so that's like really far east.
And Kristi's from Idaho and spent time and now lives in Ohio. And for the longest time, I was like, I know Kristi lives in a state that starts with a vowel. And that's like all I could get my head around is just like, I know it's a vowel state.
And I hang out in Iowa. Well, I used to pre-pandemic in Iowa a lot. So we always say I'm from Idaho, Ohio, which is the great potato corn rubber state. Because for all of you in Maine or Massachusetts, it all is like near, California.
Great. So we've got
Okay.
about 70 attendees on, and we want to just remind you about the fact that we're going to be learning together for an hour. So it is okay right now to settle yourself, get something to take notes with, get some warm coffee, get some water, just to really get set to go. And Kristi, I'm going to go get a little more coffee.
Okay, and Shelley, I appreciate you doing the conversion. You know us US centric folks, we can't do anything outside of Fahrenheit. So we love, love, love having our Canadian friends where it's very cold there in the Lake Alberta area. And then Carrie, Julie is in kind of central New York in the Syracuse area. And then I'm in Ohio. And it sounds funny because everything is south of Cleveland because it's along the lake, but we're just a little bit south of Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you just joined us, we're using the Q&A section just to chat because GoToWebinar doesn't have a chat if you've been in Zoom a lot. And we just love hearing from you. And Julie was just inviting you and herself to get 10% more comfortable. So are you thirsty? Do you have the wrong pants on? Do you have pants on? Like, come on, like, let's get comfortable, folks. But we
That's
haven't
right.
really, we still have like 6 minutes before we'll get started, but we're just saying hello and saying hello to our friends in Canada.
And someone named
Oh,
Lavinia.
Youngstown, Ohio. Woohoo! That's in between your house and my house, Julie.
That's right. And someone named Lavinia said, grateful for being a breast cancer survivor. I just want to say,
Ah,
shout out to you, Lavinia Taylor. That's fabulous. We're so glad you're here.
fabulous. Yes.
Yeah,
We
Trisha from
got
Georgia.
Maryland, Georgia. Yep. Sorry, Lavinia, we're first timers too. So yeah, you did it perfectly.
Yeah, we have a lot of grace for any kind of technological issues because we're doing all sorts of virtual stuff, Kristi and I. And then this is a format we're not used to. So you'll have to be graceful with us also. You are
Yeah, so
both
any
labeled.
questions you have, but we're just using the Q&A to chat. So you don't
Oh,
have to have a
thanks.
question. You can just talk to us about your four-legged friends or, you know,
Kristi, Kristi, Audrey said you're both labeled Julie Causton,
oh,
which we are merging
I
into
don't
one
know,
human.
Julie. Oh, I labeled you. All right. All right,
So
Team
how do we,
Brooks, you're going to have to give me support on how to rename myself. Julie, we should use our pronouns too.
I'm not going to learn to rename myself today, but it's
Okay.
okay.
I'm going to pretend like I can.
Saskatchewan, Serena.
Yeah, Kristi, I'm looking into that now. Give me 1 second.
That's fine. I'm just going to look around.
It said, I'm going to ignore that.
Settings. Hmm.
Okay, so Kristi, in
Yeah.
the attendee dropdown, if you click, there should be a little caret next to your name. If you click into that, there should be a place to edit your name.
You're all going to be so impressed.
We are going to be impressed.
Uh-huh. Thank you for the good support there, Brianna.
Of course.
Great. Anyone else who's just joining us, we see people are popping on and we are not starting yet. We haven't gotten started. I'm Julie Causton and this is my colleague Kristi, and we are going to be starting in a minute, but basically we'd love it if you got comfortable. We'd love it if you got yourself a pillow if you need it. Make sure you're really cozy and comfy. Get more coffee, use the restroom, so that we can spend this 1 hour together learning and make it our very best experience.
And feel free to practice interacting with us. We're using the questions area in your participant drop down. What do you call that? The
Pain,
Little
she called it.
questions pane in the GoToWebinar control panel.
control panel. In the control panel, find the questions area, and you don't have to have a question. You can just be like, hello, and how much snow you have or don't have. My sister lives in California and she sent a picture the other day and I'm like, whatever. Did you
Yeah,
see, Julie? I renamed myself.
I'm proud of you, Kristie. I didn't
Yep,
learn. I didn't feel like I could do that.
that's okay. You're
Um,
gonna have to share your screen, so that's big enough.
that's right. I'm just like, let me just do one hard thing. That'd be great.
And you look cute today, so that's two things.
That's right. I showed up. I showered today, folks.
She did.
And yeah, it's a true fact. So I'm feeling really ready for today. So people are hopping on. This is awesome. It looks like we've got about 200 people jumping on already, and we've got 2 minutes. So we would love it if you put in the chat something you're feeling grateful for today. And it doesn't have to be related to, content or teaching. It's just one thing you're feeling really good about today. And that way you get to
We've got
practice.
northern Saskatchewan. Now, she didn't do the conversion for us to Fahrenheit, but all I know is that minus 33 Celsius sounds super, super cold.
Mhm.
Yeah, help us because it might
Or
not
ask
be.
Alexa, what is minus 33 Celsius in Fahrenheit? She's going to say, darn cold. Like, don't even bother, girlfriend.
Chara says, no snow, please, in
Right?
Georgia.
Oh, Eugene, Oregon. Go Ducks.
Oh my gosh, Kristie. Winter break is starting. For some of you, winter break is starting. Oh my gosh. If we could be the kickoff to your winter break, that would be so phenomenal. Someone wrote, winter break is starting in 4 hours. That's so exciting.
Janet, your mute is off. That is totally fine. I think you'll all remain muted. So the only way to talk to us is to type. So you're great. And you
And
don't
Jan,
have to worry. Nobody can see you and nobody can hear you. You just can hear and see us. But we love it if you chat in the questions area.
yeah, Janet says, where's the chat? That's a great question.
Yeah,
It's actually the questions area in the control panel. So you're instead going to put your question right there.
or your
Thank you.
chat.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Someone said, thankful for my neighbor who's currently digging out my car. That's fabulous.
Yeah, so handouts, Jeannie, also a good question. If I'm not saying your name right, you can correct me. We have one big handout for you, and we'll show you how to get that as we move through the webinar. So mostly this is just conversational. Julie and I are going to give you lots and lots of tips through conversation, and there'll be a certificate that you do see in your handout area. Perfect. And then we're going to give you a link of how to get all our 140 tips, and the team at Brooks will follow up with you to make sure you get it as well. So really easy breezy, nothing multitasking, just get comfy and hang out.
Okay. Brooks, are you ready?
We're ready if you are.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
Okay, awesome.
where'd she go? Oh, are you telling us, Brianna? Oh,
No, I'm going to be hosting, so this is perfect. She's just going to run
I'm like,
behind the
you're like, I'm out. I'm like, okay, come on.
scenes.
We're ready.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, let's get started then. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're happy you could join us. My name is Naya Hyde. I am the marketing assistant for K-12 education products here at Brooks Publishing. Before we start, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. You'll be muted for the webinar, but if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box, which we've been using. We'll take these questions after the presentation during the Q&A portion of the webinar. For the presentation, you also might want to minimize the GoToWebinar bar on your monitor so you can see more of your screen. You can do that by clicking the orange button with the arrow in the top corner of the control bar. And if you need to enlarge the bar again to ask a question or get access to any of the handouts, you can just click the orange button again. If you experience any audio issues at any point, you can switch to phone by clicking in the audio section of the webinar panel and using the dial-in information provided. Also, we are recording this webinar, so everyone who registered for the event will receive a link to the recording in a follow-up email tomorrow. During today's presentation, content will be referenced from Julie Causton's new book, The Paraprofessionals Handbook for Effective Support in Inclusive Classrooms, the second edition. An essential hands-on guide for new and seasoned paraprofessionals, and a must-have for the educators and other paraprofessionals who support them. This empowering book takes the guesswork out of critical classroom role so you can help students with disabilities reach their full potential. Passionate inclusion advocate Julie Causton and Kate McLeod bring you a supremely practical guide to surviving and thriving as an integral part of your school's inclusive team. You'll get immediately applicable strategies for mastering every facet of your complex role, collaborating with other team members, selecting accommodations and modifications, facilitating peer connections, fading your support, and so much more. And you'll find a treasure trove of tools, including activities, learning checks, reproducible templates, FAQs, short to-do lists, to help you reflect on your practice and strengthen your daily work. You can learn more about this book by clicking the URL shown on your screen. I'm also happy to announce that Brooks will be giving away 5 copies of Julie's book, The Paraprofessionals Handbook for Effective Support in Inclusive Classrooms. Winners will be randomly selected from today's live attendees and notified by email after the webinar. To increase your chances of winning, be sure to enter your questions into the questions pane during the presentation. We're also excited to share that Julie and Kristie will be giving away 3 VIP passes for their upcoming PD for Paras training. Starting on January 8th, paraprofessionals can join Julie and Kristie for an unparalleled learning opportunity. 4 live 1-hour training sessions delivered via Zoom. During today's presentation, Julie and Kristie will talk more about this exciting opportunity. Also, we did want to mention at the end of the webinar, you'll be prompted to complete a short survey. We would love to know what you thought of today's webinar, and anyone who completes the survey will also be entered to win a free copy of the book.
There you go.
Awesome.
And again, everyone watching this webinar will be able to download a certificate of attendance. For those of you watching live, you can actually go to your handout pane in your go to webinar control panel and download your certificate. And live attendees will also be emailed their certificate in the next 24 hours. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, stay tuned at the end of today's presentation to learn how you can access your certificate as well. Without further delay, I'm happy to introduce today's presenter. Julie Causton is a former and CEO of Inclusive Schooling. She's a former professor in the Inclusive and Special Education program in the Department of Teaching and Leadership at Syracuse University. She has spent the past 20 years surrounding and creating best practices for inclusive education with a specific focus on supporting students whose behavior challenges the educational system. As a former special education teacher herself, she knows firsthand how belonging leads to better outcomes for students. She works with administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, and families across the country to help create inclusive experiences. Dr. Causton is author of 7 books about inclusive education, and she has published articles in over 30 educational research and practitioner journals. We also have Dr. Kristie Pretti-Frontczak. Did I say that right, Kristie?
Yeah, perfectly.
Awesome. She's committed to guiding early educators by nourishing their hearts and minds while strengthening their social, emotional intelligence and leadership skills. With over 2 decades of educational experience and several years of social leadership practice, Kristie cultivates real change within educational organizations. She instills an impressive sense of joy, humor, and fun in creating best practices that start from within, empowering teachers to spread wellness both in and beyond the classroom walls. Kristie's core beliefs rest in the power of the emotional investment of educators, the shared understanding between them and their students, and in their abilities to convert problems into solutions and those solutions into opportunities. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're so excited for your presentation.
Thanks.
Thanks, Naya. We're so excited to be here. Thanks, Brooks. We love being here with all of you. I think we'll jump right in. Kristie, how does that sound?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's do it,
And
huh?
just folks, so you know, Naya mentioned using the questions area to ask questions in order to maybe get answers and or win, but we're also using the questions area to interact with each other, you with us and you with each other. So feel free to say hello. We now have like almost 100 amazing folks around this globe. So feel free to type while we're talking. So we're gonna be interactive and share lots with you, but use the questions area, not just for asking questions, but just to say hi, make a comment, say hello to a friend, say hello to us. All right, Miss Julie, let's go.
Okay, here we go. So you read that right. We said over 100 ways. You're going to gain over 100 ways to support students virtually. We have an opening question for you, and we want you to put it in the chat. Nope, in the questions box. And here's the question. Why do you love being a paraprofessional? Or if you're not a paraprofessional and you're an administrator or educator or parent, what do paraprofessionals offer to the field of education? So go ahead and pop your answer right in the question spot.
Yeah, just a word, a phrase. What do you love most if you are a paraprofessional, or for those of you in Canada, an educational aide? And again, if you're someone who supports or works with paras, what is it that you love about them?
Here's what's coming up. I'm just going to share
Okay, let's
some.
read them.
Children, energy, expertise, working with students with disabilities. Paraprofessionals are, let me just finish, the lifeblood for a teacher.
Oh, I
I get
hope
to
y'all
help.
are reading these.
They can't, Kristie, that's why I'm reading them.
They can't see the questions in the chat?
I don't think so. I love working with children. I love being able to assist the teacher in my class and work closely with my sweet babies, says Lucy Perkins. Working closely with students, it just doesn't even feel like work. Lori, agreed, agreed, agreed. All the support, being a partner in education. I love making a difference. I'm going to pause because I know that there are many, many more answers coming, but we just wanted you to really get to that first piece of why we're here. Why do we love this work, and why do we love paraprofessionals? You already got a long introduction of both of us, so we're not going to read these to you, but probably I'm just going to pick out two things to say. Most importantly, I was a special education teacher, and now I run a company called Inclusive Schooling, where I help school systems become more inclusive, and I work super closely with Kristie. I have very cute family, so I just thought you needed to see them. These are my children, Ella and Sam, and my wife, Ellen. We got married a year ago, so I thought you should see how cute we look all dressed up.
You know, it's like a year and a half now. You got to start up in that.
No, I'm just going to call it a year until we get to 2, if that's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kristie.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I'm not Kate. Kate is on maternity leave. She's up there in the great state of Maine having a baby. And so I'm stepping in, hanging out with my friend Julie. This is probably one of my favorite things is to hang out with paraprofessionals and to think about paraprofessionals, especially because my area is early childhood. And so much of what we accomplish in the early years is by way of our right hand, as someone said. When we're teaching young children, it's usually a teacher and a paraprofessional, and that's it. And so we need each other greatly. So I was a professor for many years at Kent State. I'm here in Ohio. I grew up in Idaho, though, and I know I have some friends from the great state of Oregon on today. So there you go. And then my family is a little bit smaller, and this is Mike and Wizzy, who's on my lap right now. So if I look like I have ADHD as an attribute, I really just have a pandemic puppy biting me on my lap. And this
And if
is
I look
Mike,
like,
and this is our 30th year. Our anniversary is on January 5th. It'll be 30 years. So
awesome. And if I look like I have ADHD as an attribute, it's because I really do have
you do.
ADHD as an attribute.
So
So
keep
we
your thoughts
really,
coming, y'all. Oh gosh, yeah. This is what you
yeah,
really need to know about us.
yeah, I was looking at our pictures. Speaking of ADHD, I was looking at our pictures, and I was just noticing that we had the same vibe in high school. So I hope you're enjoying our hair pics, and you can make a comment about how fabulous our hair is there. And I also am wanting you to notice Kristie's by a bale of hay. Is that what you call it? Yeah, which
Yeah,
is,
because I grew up in Idaho. So of course you take your high school senior picture next to a hay bale. Of
that's
course.
right. Of
Like, why
course.
don't you?
That's right. I
All
don't
right,
know.
let's get to it.
Here we go. We're going to have an opening, which we've already done, which is kind of like, what do you love about para support? And for those of you who are not paraprofessionals, what do we love about the support of paraprofessionals? We're going to jump right into virtual support. Then we're going to share about the book. Then we're going to share about the class. And then we're going to answer any questions people have, and then we're going to close. So we have 1 hour, so get ready.
Here we go.
The first thing we want you to understand is when we say the word paraprofessional, we know that that word is very different in every single school district. Sometimes people say aide, assistant, educational assistant, teaching assistant, paraprofessional assistant, instructional assistant, one-to-one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we just want you to know we're talking about the human beings who work alongside or next to educators. And we're using the IDEA definition that's of paraprofessionals, because that's how it's written in the legal documents. So we're just making sure we're all on the same page about what we're talking about. And all these virtual supports are also very useful if you're a teacher or a parent.
Yep. Okay, great. So just so you know, that's who we're talking about. When anything we talk about in these 100+ ways to support students, we know that you play multiple roles or come by different names.
I just have to say, people are commenting about our hair and they said 1985, 80s rock. Yes, thank you.
We're not,
Okay,
well, yeah, it was a little bit later than 1985.
it's okay though, but it's fabulous that, okay. We believe paraprofessionals are the most valuable human resource in a school setting, and we want to make sure that anyone listening is really thinking about how do we utilize the support of paraprofessionals in really important ways. So, Kristie, you want to talk about the benefits of really good paraprofessional support? Pick a couple of these.
Yeah, and again, if you're just joining us, feel free to take screenshots. We don't have handouts today. This is just sort of a high level, trying to give you as many tips and ideas, and this is setting the stage. You can also use the questions area to comment as well. So you're looking at a slide with lots of benefits, and people just shared what they love about being a paraprofessional or what they love about paras. And so as you look at this, kind of think about, what are the benefits? Why do we always say we need more of you, right? And so for me, I'm going to just pick today the top first quadrant, little box.
Okay.
Help students around friendships. And so this is going to be important, whether we're virtual or hybrid or in person, that we want to make sure that we're fostering and supporting and creating opportunities for friendship without being in the way of friendship. So that's going to be mine today.
Okay, good. And I'm going to add reviewing and teaching content. So
Okay.
sometimes people say paraprofessionals can't teach content, and that's not true. Paraprofessionals can and should be teaching things that have been given to you by an educator to support students with. And so I just want to talk about that. And I want to also add encouragement. So I'm jumping down here. I think one of the biggest roles of paraprofessionals is to encourage and support and help students stay in the game of learning. And we know that's a big matrix, and we know that there's even more things that great paraprofessionals do. And we know at this moment, you're all going, okay, but wait, how do we do all of that virtually? It's nearly, a lot of people are saying to us, it's nearly impossible with a screen between us to do the work that we used to do. And we first want to acknowledge that we know it is not easy, it is not simple, it is sometimes really difficult. And today we want to share with you over 100 ways to do that, just to get you to think in new ways and to relax and add more and more tools to your already full toolboxes.
And so don't worry, you're going to get a handout later on with all 140. But for right now, we just want you to listen and think and chat with each other using, I don't know, but they can't see each other's, right? In the
Right.
questions area. Okay, we'll keep reading some different things. And again, Julia, I'm trying to answer some questions as we go as well. Okay.
Great. Okay, so what Kristie mentioned is you're going to get the handout. You don't need to keep asking it where you're going to get it, because we're going to give it to you in multiple ways. At the very end, you're going to get this full handout. Just take notes and share as we talk through 140 ways to support students virtually. And what we want you to know is on this slide right here, these are the headings in the big handout, the big ideas, and then we're going to give at least 10 ways for each in the handout. So I think we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
Here we go. The first big heading is teaching new skills. Now that you're virtual, paraprofessionals' role can be all about teaching new skills. You see 10 listed here, and Kristie and I are going to just talk about 2 of them. The first is how to write the friendly email to your teacher when you need help. So one thing we're finding is that students are getting stuck, getting confused, needing support. And one skill you can teach is how do you write that friendly email that has a greeting, that has a question, and that has your name at the end, right? And so that's something you can be teaching students to do better.
So Julie, while we're on this one, let's just pause for just a second because a
Yep.
couple questions came up. And in our course, PD for Paras, we talk at length. So I'm going to try to do this in 30 seconds. But when you say teach new skills and somebody says, wait, I'm an aide, I'm a para, I'm not supposed to teach. Can you just clarify that one more time?
Yep. So you're hired to support students. And what that looks like is you might not start a new lesson in biology because you're not biology teachers, but you can teach all kinds of skills. And so even if you're an aide or a one-on-one, essentially your job is to support kids to get that general ed content. So we're giving examples of new skills you might teach. If you're uncomfortable with this idea, or if you've been told explicitly this isn't your role, then bring this idea to your supervisor and talk to them about it. But it is perfectly within what's appropriate for paraprofessionals to help teach these little pieces so that kids can access education.
That's what I was hoping you would say is access. So maybe the barrier for a student to join a Google Classroom or to participate in something that's going on virtually is that they're confused by something or they want to ask a question. So helping the student communicate with their teacher by teaching the student how to write an email that says something more than like, I can't log on. The teacher's like, what have you tried? What happens when you try to log in? So how to write an informative and friendly email. Okay. You want to do the second
Yeah.
highlighted one too, Julie?
So people are asking a lot of questions like, are you talking about virtual or hybrid or when you're next to a student? And the answer is yes. Okay, we're talking about whether there's a screen between you and the student or whether you're next to a student and you have a mask and shield on. It doesn't really matter. All these
Right.
are skills that we need people to be teaching our students, and paras are the perfect role. So we're selecting number 9, which is how do you set an alarm to make sure kids show up to class on time or to class at all. We hear all the time that students aren't showing up. And so literally that can be a skill that you support a student through. So that's teaching new skills. And as you can see, we didn't talk about all of them, but you'll see that there are many, many more ideas about skills that might need to be explicitly taught.
And Julie, I was thinking, just sorry, one more thing about that. I know we're going to be clear and concise, but for those of my early childhood folks or anybody that might be, see the pandemic puppy, supporting parents, parents might need support in setting an alarm so that they can get their student to class or virtually or in person.
Beautiful. Okay, I'm going to talk about supporting learning. And Kristie, you just jump in because I know that Wizzy's sparking, so just tell me when you're ready. The 2 ideas around supporting learning are helping students identify questions they will ask or information they might share. So you might pop on 2 minutes early and tell a student and say, okay, what questions are you going to ask today? What do you want to share? You might have talked to the teacher and the teacher might be doing an opening meeting and the teacher might be asking about favorite ice cream flavors. Well, you might be supporting a student that isn't going to think of that on time or isn't going to be able to participate at the same pace as everybody else. So what you would do is help prepare them so that they could participate or ask a question. You might remind students steps of an in-case emergency. So what that means is, what do you do if your internet goes out? What do you do if all of a sudden you can't see anyone anymore? And what we've been telling our students is go to your email and then that's where I'll communicate to you. So helping students to know where to go if an emergency occurs.
And Julie, what I wanted to add was some observations that folks are having. First of
Great.
all, glad you like the tips. Second of all, they're like, hey, all students might benefit from these. Yep.
Sorry.
And this idea of we wrote this list of 140 thinking, okay, if you're virtual, but absolutely most, if not all, would also apply. So just like if there's an evacuation plan or unfortunately a lockdown when we're in a bricks and mortar building, we need to think through what is the backup if something happens to the teacher's internet? What happens if something that happens to the student's internet? Do we have some sort of back channel or way to communicate with each other about where to reconvene? So just a couple of quick things under this idea of pre-learning that we need to think through so the learning is successful.
Awesome. Okay, we're jumping to We've got a whole section on before a lesson. And we recognize there are paraprofessionals here that support from pre-K to 12th grade, okay? And so what we want you to do is think about, how can I support my student or multiple students before a lesson even starts? So we picked our two favorites here. I'll talk about 6, Kristie, and you can talk about 10. Is that okay? The 6th one is create a checklist or visual reminder of anything you need for every class, okay? So let's imagine you're talking about kindergarten and students need to show up with something from their home that represents a noun, okay? And so you're making sure they have a checklist that says something that represents a noun, your pencil, your paper, a comfortable chair, and you're making a visual so that every day kids can show up and have that all ready to go and they know that they're prepared for learning.
And I
And then
wanted to
Chris,
say again, for those of you in early childhood, this might be something you do in collaboration with families. So as the para, you might talk with your teacher, talk with even an occupational therapist or speech therapist. What is the heart of the lesson? What would be helpful for the student to have? Are there going to be puppets? Are there going to be things in the home? Do they need to be more comfortable? And so you can create that checklist with the family ahead of time. So just keep in mind that some of these things you're doing with the student and some you might be doing with whoever's in the home or the apartment or the condo supporting the student. All right, so
great.
Julie, take a look at the chat. I'll do number 10.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just maybe remind folks when I get done about handouts, okay?
Mhm.
All right, so our next favorite thing is to use breakouts. Now, these are maybe a little bit harder the younger the student because their ability to move around. But I want you to think really creatively about how we go from whole group to small group. We often say in early childhood that whole group is the kiss of death, in the sense that to get all of those little brains and hearts and bodies wanting to do the same thing at the same time is really hard. So having smaller chunks in smaller groups is often more effective than one whole group that goes longer. So just keep that in mind, that even from a non-technology breakout room sort of idea, we want to think about with younger students or students with ADHD as an attribute, or just screen time, that we need to have smaller chunks, but also be cautious of too many transitions. But anyway, breakout rooms. This is our favorite one, that folks get to choose where they go. So let's say you're doing something with 4th graders. You might say to them, okay, we're going to stay in the main Google Hangout or Google Classroom or Zoom room, and I'm going to stay here. And if you have questions about the lesson that we just did about skip counting, I don't know, Julie, do you do skip counting in 4th grade? Let's make it a
You
second.
started in 2nd grade. Yeah, 2nd, but yep.
Okay, I learned about skip counting the other day, so I was trying to apply it, but I don't really
That was
know
super
enough
cool,
about it.
Kristie. I like it.
And so let's say you want to revisit what is skip counting. You might stay in with the teacher, or you could do a choice where you go into a room where you turn your camera on and you open up your mic and get to talk to other humans. Or you might be like, I don't want anyone to see what's going on in my room. So you go into a 3rd choice room where your camera is off and your mic is muted, and you're just going to type or upload files and share. Or maybe you say, I just want to work by myself for a little while, or work with a friend on a back channel. And so this idea of students choosing where they go for the small groups.
So Lucy Perkins says, I love this idea of kids choosing which breakout rooms they can go to. Such a great idea, she said. Thank you. And we'd love it if you work with your teacher and say, hey, listen, during breakout rooms, I can handle that. Make me a co-host, and I'm going to have all the breakout room options at the ready. So as a paraprofessional, you might be there to support a student with Down syndrome, for example, but you might, in a social studies class, say, okay, everybody, now it's time to join breakout rooms. I'll be over here doing this. The general ed teacher will be over here doing this. And there's going to be a student-led group over here. And then you can help kids get to the right breakout rooms. So we see this as a very complex, so you've got to really up your tech game if you're ready to do this, but super useful way to support learners.
And as Julie always says, choice is the friend of inclusion. So notice we didn't say put all the kids who don't know, as Jonathan reminds me, that 4th graders can do more than skip counting. So instead of putting all the kids who need practice of second grade content in the fourth grade in one room, and all that are doing pre-calculus in the fourth grade, I'm totally making up stuff, Jonathan, in another room, it's by choice. And so it's not about ability or about tracking or about what you think they want, but really what they are interested in doing. Okay, next one, Julie. So this is another big category, which is what to do during the lesson or during the activity or during the class.
Yeah, I just want to add in the last one, someone said breakout rooms are great for building relationships too. And one of the things I'm noticing most about the pandemic and remote learning is that students are feeling very isolated. And so even as a paraprofessional, you can and should say, hey, when they get in the breakout rooms, can they first share one idea that they had over the night since the last time we met? Or you can help facilitate those social interactions because humans are really needing them right now. And sometimes as a para, your role is to remind teachers that this would be useful.
Like we maybe need time to talk about what level we made it up to on the game that we're playing, or what did
Yeah,
we watch, or where did we go, or what did we eat for dinner, things like that, that are just, more about being together than skip counting.
yeah, beautiful. And asking the question, how can you use skip counting in really cool ways? And just having people, so I'm just going to use skip counting because we're thinking about it, but
We're picking on
you
it.
could put kids in groups of 2 and have them
Okay.
practice skip counting, and you could have them select the number they're going to skip count by. So they could skip count by 5s, they could skip count by 492s, but essentially then together they get as high as they can in skip counting. So we're using the content but making it fun and connected, as opposed to do the next worksheet on skip counting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Kristie introduced this beautifully, and then I moved to a different topic. So back
Okay.
to during a lesson, these are things to do during the lesson. Help create peer support for every student. So often when someone's a one-to-one or they're really hired there for a specific student or 2 or 3 in a classroom, they think, okay, I've got to be the support for that student. And our preference and the researched preference is the more you can connect the student you're supposed to support, the student with that identified disability, with a general ed student and create opportunities for them to support one another, you are doing your job. And actually, you're doing a great service to the student that you're supporting, because you might be fabulous and your relationship to that kid is important, but it is not as important as that student's relationship to someone else in the classroom, a peer. So you could create peer support for every student. So you show up in 5th grade to support and you say to the teacher, I've already got a schedule of all the people that can meet with others. And so I've got it all set. Is it okay if we do that when we do the read aloud? And so essentially you're helping to create peer support.
All right,
Kristie,
Julie,
you
I'll
want,
do number 6, and then
yeah,
let's pause. And we've got a lot of new folks on. And so we'll just take a quick public service to remind them about handouts, that they'll get the recording if they have to jump off, that there's giveaways, all that. So get ready for that.
okay,
The one that I like the most, so I really like co-teaching with Julie. Like, this is my favorite thing that she and I do. And so when we say a parent can teach stuff, we really are talking about this back and forth, like you see Julie and I doing, setting each other up, clarifying, helping each other know what grade level skip counting really lands on. So I could even play the role of a student and I could say, oh, Mr. So-and-so or Miss Julie, can you tell us one more time what it is we're doing here in this webinar today? So I'm just acting as if I'm a student and noticing it's been 30 minutes and we've been sitting here and somebody just joined us. How can I prompt the teacher to revisit a big idea, or maybe it didn't come across very clear and I'm like, what was that? And so for those in early childhood might be like, well, what is skip counting? So I could say, Miss Julie, can you clarify one more time for us, or can you tell us where we're going? So I'm going to say, Miss Julie, what are we doing in this webinar? Am I going to get handouts? What if I have to leave early? Help us
great.
out.
Yeah, so I'm stopping sharing my screen and I'm just
Great.
giving you a little tip. Students, human beings prefer to look at other human beings. They like to look into your eyes. They like to see your smile, the warmth of all the things you used to do as a para. we have to sort of figure out how to recreate over the screen, which is very difficult. So sometimes stop sharing your screen, sometimes jump in and just look at and talk to the students. Now, Kristie said, what are we doing? So the big overarching webinar is about 140 ways to support students virtually. It's for paraprofessionals. We are talking about this book. So this book came out last week, brand new, the Paraprofessionals Handbook for Effective Support in Inclusive Classrooms. And after the 140, we're going to talk about the book a bit, and then we're going to talk about this class that's live that Kristie and I are offering. And we would love it if you figured out how to attend, and if you figured out how to get all the paraprofessionals in your whole school to attend, because we think it is so fabulous. Okay, so that's what we're doing. And right now we're just talking through those 140 tips.
Yep. And
And
you,
Kristie,
oh, go ahead.
go ahead with the
Okay,
logistics.
so if you want the 140 tips, we're going to give you the link here in just a few minutes of how to download it. We just didn't want you to have to multitask, but you're going to get it today in the webinar, or if you're watching it back, you'll have the link. Brooks Publishing, the team will email you the link to get the 140 download. It's free. It's I don't know, maybe 6 pages, 3 pages long, has all 140 that we're highlighting during the webinar, and you'll get a link to the recording. So if you want to fast forward to 30 minutes in and go, okay, what do we do during a lesson? Or what do we do? What's our next one, Julie? What's our next big activity?
Great. So the next big activity is called After a Lesson.
Okay, so what we had before a lesson, during a lesson, or after. And so we're going to highlight 2 of 10 tips of what paras can do to support students virtually after a class, after a lesson. And again, folks, this is like, it could be a 5-minute, it could be a 40-minute. Don't get too caught up in what is a lesson or what is a class. It's just sort of after something was learned or explored or investigated, what could we do as our role?
Beautiful. So I'm going to highlight the 5th one, which is facilitate a homework group for students to join if they need support. So imagine how useful this could be. Class is over, and now you're available for anyone who needs to review the material, for anyone who wants to practice, for anyone who wants to hear it again. And again, I'm suggesting opening that up to everyone, not just the students that you're there to support, because we want our supports to be seamless and available to everyone, even if we're a one-on-one. So create a little group for people to join if they want additional support, and then facilitate that support. That's the first one I want to share about after a lesson.
Okay. And number 7, we have a great friend that's a graphic recorder. You'll get to see her work here in just a minute. But Cheryl oftentimes will draw what we are saying and showing. And that graphic record, that illustration of the big ideas of what is covered is something that could be shared after a lesson. So maybe during the lesson, your job is to, if you can draw or bullet or piece together with photographs, a collage of the big ideas, then you can share that with students or families afterwards. So maybe they missed part of it. Maybe they were eating during part of it and kind of spaced off for a minute. Maybe they had to take a bio break, whatever the reason, or they just have this memory problem. Then they can look at this snapshot that reminds them of the big ideas. So you're capturing what was essential and then sharing it out in some way.
So I'm giving a visual of what Kristie said is our artist friend. So she draws when we teach our class, the one we're going to talk about today, we hire an artist to draw what we're teaching. She drew all about how to help students become more independent, which is a big topic in the class that we teach. And as you can see, she's drawn it all out in a beautiful way to help people understand the content. Now, I recognize you're all thinking, oh, that would be amazing if I could draw like that, wouldn't it?
Right?
And so yeah, I'm going to take it down to a different level, which is you might have just learned about the water cycle, okay? And your teacher might have talked about it, but your students didn't have any way to grasp it. Now, I haven't been studying water cycle, so I'm just pretending right now, but I know it involves something like evaporation, and there's all these things that happen, and condensation and precipitation, etc.
You
And
know not
so
to ask me.
yeah, but so here's an example. You can show a visual this simple. Imagine it was kind of a little bit cooler than this, or you could go as far as Cheryl goes with her graphic recordings. But what this does is it gives all students one more way to remember the content, okay?
And Julie, we have a fabulous quote from Mary Ann that I have to share. She
Please, go
said,
ahead.
our philosophy is to teach through a screen, not on a screen.
Beautiful, beautiful,
All
beautiful.
right, so hopefully today we're modeling teaching through a screen and not on a screen. All right,
Yeah.
so we had before, during, and after. Now we're going to talk about, oh, our favorite stuff, just creating connections. Humans are born and wired to connect. That's why living through a pandemic is so much of a struggle for humans, because we desire and need connections. When you think about learning, we often talk about 3 connection points. Julie talks about access points, but we're also talking about 3 connection points. Do students feel connected to you as the adults, the support, the experts? Do students feel connected to the content? And do students feel connected to each other? All 3 of those are important for humans to learn.
Beautiful. So we pulled a couple ideas when you're thinking about making those connections. And I'm going to talk about the first one, which is private messaging in the chat to connect personally. So it depends on your format or the what you're using, Zoom or Google, or it doesn't matter. If there's a way for you to connect and say, great idea, or love that you shared that, or that was really helpful. So you can encourage people just through your private chat. You can also say, remember last week you skip counted by 5s and you were very successful. So 6s is pretty close to that. So you're giving tips and tools like you would in a student's ear, but you can do it by chatting. And the beauty of it is, it means that your support can be invisible to others.
And I feel like for this one, for my early childhood folks in particular, or any of you who are supporting students with more significant needs through their caregiver, a parent, a sibling, an aunt, a grandma, they might be the one that needs encouragement. They might need to know a little bit of a tip on a non-private, non-public way, either encouragement, affirmation, a reminder, tech support. So you might be supporting the parent or caregiver in the chat privately as a way of keeping them engaged and motivated, answering their questions about how to do something in that lesson or that activity for their child, which isn't public.
So I'm just going to use an example, and I'm just going to talk it through. So Lucy Perkins just said, such a good way to differentiate for students. And she said that about the visual, the visual examples, right? This is a good way to differentiate. I might type privately to Lucy, I'm so glad you remember the concept of differentiation that we taught last week, right? And so again, you're just saying to her, like, keep going, keep learning. And what that does for Lucy's confidence is just really helps her to feel better about the ways in which she's learning.
Yeah, good. All right,
Okay,
so Julie, we're 40 minutes in. How are we doing?
perfect.
How far are we?
Oh, we're doing really far. We're great, Kristie. We're a little bit ahead of schedule. So let me just say
Okay,
this.
great.
Some of you are wondering, how's the giveaways going to work? Because I'm here because I want to get the free books, or I'm here because I want to get access to the free courses that we're offering. So we're offering courses that are not free, but today we're giving a few away for free. And so we're going to tell you all about that. That's going to happen at the end of today. So that's the other thing. And someone is asking, do I have to say goodbye if I'm leaving? No, you can just head out and it's recorded and you can always come back and watch it. Okay.
Good. All right. So that's some, oh yeah, go ahead. You do number 10.
Number
Or do you
10.
want to go on?
No, I want to keep going. So creating connections. These are more examples of how to create connections. And we selected using Flipgrid to have students record messages. So you can create connections like, what are you thrilled about doing over the break? Okay. And you can have students write a response to that, do a video. Maybe someone is excited to train their dog new tricks and they create a video of that and they upload it. Again, you're making a place, a space for people to share who they are so that they can be seen and they can be educated in ways that feel really good to them. So
Yeah, and
Kristie,
again, knowing if you have younger kids or kids with more significant needs, we're relying on that amazing parent or caregiver to help facilitate these interactions. So again, the paras might be actually supporting the parent or the caregiver more than straight up for the child, especially if you're virtual.
Yeah, beautiful. Someone said we have some students who don't have any access to technology. So we today are focusing on if students have access to technology. But I love your question so much, Lucy, that I want to think that through. And what we'll do is come up with alternatives for when you don't get to see them on the screen, and how do you continue to support them.
And
So
Dana,
let's,
yeah, we can see what you're typing, but there's, you might not be able to see everybody, but there's like hundreds of things being typed. So we may not see everything, but it'll get recorded. And Julie and I will go back through it and make sure that we grab any questions that weren't answered live and figure all that out.
and by asking a question or making a comment, you are increasing your chances to be in the drawing for the free books and the free classes. Okay, let's
Yeah.
jump into the chat feature. So most um, platforms have some kind of a chat feature. And so you might help a student to use the chat feature. So for example, there are often places where you can put thoughts, feelings, ideas, questions, emojis, symbols, words, or phrases. And so you want to learn that and be able to teach that. For example, right now we have 420 people on this webinar, and it is likely only probably 10 to 20% of you are chatting with us. The rest of you maybe don't know how, maybe don't feel comfortable, maybe don't want to. All of that is perfectly fine, but we want our students to know how and to be able to chat when they want to connect.
And so, Julie, what I'm going to say, because some people are like, we use this technology, or we can't
Yeah,
private chat, or we don't have that feature. So,
absolutely.
part of this, y'all, is not letting the technology become the teacher. If
Mm.
the technology we're using is a barrier to our connections and our inclusion, that's a problem. So, part of our job, occupational therapist said this, maybe she's a physical therapist in Wisconsin, that our job is as advocates. So we might have to get creative and find other ways. Remember, we need to connect with the expert, the teachers, we need to connect with the content, and we need to connect with others. So do we have to do something that is with text technology and set up a private group chat that maybe a para oversees the private chat? Can you use something like a Padlet? Now, I might be using words you're not familiar with, and you can Google them, but you can even Google what are different ways to chat over the internet, or can we do something that we post in, oh, I don't know, I'm trying to think like a place where you could post on old-fashioned bulletin board. You post notes for each other, and even if you're not there in real time, you could leave a note for a friend, and then when they come for their, let's say you're on Mondays and Tuesdays and they're on Thursdays and Wednesdays, there's a little note waiting for them. Or you drop it off on their doorstep, or if you live in the same apartment building, you encourage students to draw something and leave it under the door of their friend. So we just want you to take the spirit and the idea and not do too much about worry if you have that feature. Does that make sense, Julie?
Yeah, I just want to say this says excited, right? So you could quickly ask kids to jot down how they're feeling at the moment and hold it up without a chat feature. And then even an I need help sign, right? That you could hold up to say, I need someone to support me. So many, many ways. And I love what you said, Kristie, it's the spirit. And then I want you to think to yourself, I don't have that technology, but I could do it this way. So we're going to ask you to do that piece because we couldn't possibly know what all the platforms are that you're using, but super helpful questions and we love your comments. Okay, so I'm going to go back to showing my screen.
Okay.
And am I showing
More
it, Kristie?
tips. I was going to hit my gong every time we hit a tip, but
Oh, wow, that would have been cool.
that'd be like,
So many. Okay. So we believe and know and couldn't stress to you how much we think this is true. Students need to move to learn. Okay. Sometimes you might notice, like right now, I'm going to stand up as I do it. You might notice right now that your body needs to stand and move. So I'm standing and moving. The thing that you could do is to say to the teacher, ooh, instead of having people share, have them stand up if they think this is true, or have them stand up if they think 5 times 5 is 25, or have them jump up if they think blah, blah, blah. And so you're giving a creative support to a teacher to allow for more movement, which allows students to learn more.
hey,
And
Julie, will
Chris,
you tell about the aerobics and spelling?
yeah, so I teach something called, here, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I was
Okay.
a,
This is so great. I can't do
yeah,
it still, but I love it.
okay, well, good thing I don't have pajama pants on, so I can do it today.
Okay, good.
No matter what I'm teaching, I always use spelling aerobics, and spelling aerobics is this. If you picture a word like the word big, B-I-G, right? How you do it is if the letter is a B, it touches the top line. You have kids stand B, and I is goes to the middle line. So you put your hands on your hips, and a G has a tail that touches the bottom. And so to spell big, you have to go B-I-G. Now, I'm not going to publicly spell the word photosynthesis because I'll probably screw it up, but I'll tell you that no matter what we're teaching, if I think a break is needed, I'll go, okay, team, spell out symbiotic relationship, use your spelling aerobics. Now you've got high school kids that are spelling, thinking, they're remembering, what are we even talking about, right? And so like literally you're just providing cool ideas to keep people moving. And that can be your role. And that is a very important role.
And Julie, I'm going to answer a question about cameras on and cameras off for a minute.
Okay.
And
Go
then
ahead.
we'll go into the break and you look and see what the time is and how much more time we have. So
Perfect.
Julie and I have a particular philosophy, and it's really Julie's that I borrowed from. It's in choice is the friend of inclusion. So if you want folks to be included and you want folks to learn and you want folks to be present, you want folks to be engaged, it's always about choice. So cameras on, cameras off for us is the number one choice. We cannot possibly know the hundreds of reasons about why. For example, in Zoom, I can hide myself. I can be visible to you, but hide myself. I do that all the time because I'm tired of seeing myself. Julie likes to see herself. Now, you might go, oh, that's narcissistic. No, she likes the feedback that she gets. I find it distracting. We're just two humans, one thing. Take that and multiply all the things that are going on in people's lives on any given day. Now, Julie said a moment ago, I'm not wearing my pajama pants today, so I can do it. What if I would have called her out and said, hey, Julie, do the spelling aerobics? And she's like, I got my pajamas on today. So we have to be really, really thoughtful that engagement, participation, learning. Now, none of you have your camera on today. If you can and would like to, put in the questions area, I've learned something, or yes, or yay, or whatever you want to let us know that you've learned and been engaged in the last 48 minutes without your camera on. Now, might you have liked it better if it was on? Maybe, but for us, the goal is not to get students to turn their camera on, but for students to be engaged. So if you can just flip that just a little bit, so you're not like, turn your camera on. We like it. It's my comfort because I get to see you. I don't get to see anybody right now but Julie and myself. And I know what she looks like, and she thinks I'm funny. But I want to know what you think, okay? I don't know, Julie, what would you
I
add?
don't know if people can see how many people wrote that they're learning, but it was like a flood of people, probably 412 responses. So again, it's just Kristie proving to us that you don't have to have your camera on in order to learn. And for many of us, it means we can sit in a comfortable position. We can be doing something that feels better to our bodies than performing for a camera, like Kristie and I are doing right now, right?
Yeah, and Deborah,
That is so
thank you for your kindness. And it is better to read the audience, but say to yourself, how can I get input from them without looking at them?
awesome.
Can I follow up with them? Can I know that what I'm doing is engaging and trust that I'm doing something from my heart and that I'm showing that with my face and my voice and my words? And then you just take a leap of faith. Okay, go,
Okay.
Julie.
So another is to take a break. So you might be the person, and this is such a cool role, and I want you to think about it. No matter what grade you're teaching, you know when kids need breaks, okay? You know when the students need breaks, you know when you need a break. So you might be the person in charge of breaks. So here's an example. Oh, I thought I had it. Bummer. I had an example of
Oh
different
yeah,
kinds
that's
of
okay.
breaks. Yeah, so they're bulleted. So you could have a list that says, take a nap, stretch, play an instrument, go outside, go organize or clean something, go for a power walk, paint something or create something. That could be a slide that you're responsible to show. Of course, you'd make it work for your age group and your situation. And then you tell them, be back in 8 minutes. Then you might have to teach them how to set an 8-minute alarm, because if you go lay down for 8 minutes, it doesn't mean you're coming back. So we have to support our learners to do this really well. And this is such a good role for paras.
So go all the way back to Julie's very first tip, which was to pre-learn something. So what do I need to be successful? If I'm going to allow students to take a nap, do exactly what Julie said. As a para, I can help students know, what would you do during the nap? like, do you have a hammock under your desk? Julie and I really want one for Christmas. If anybody celebrates that holiday, we would like a hammock for our desks. It might mean that you go for a run if you don't like to lay down. But regardless, we want you back in 8 minutes. So how does a parent, a student set a timer and know to come back versus just go take a nap? All right,
Right.
Julie.
Okay. So I think I'm just double checking. We've got 3 more big ideas,
Woo!
okay?
Okay, let's
So
go.
I'm going pretty quick, but know that you're going to have access to the whole thing. This big idea is help the teacher make learning fun. So wear costumes, suggest costumes. Pretty much when I think of fun, I think about wearing costumes. So I don't know why, but that's just the thing that
I
happens.
don't.
Or, yeah, or use props that relate to the content. I don't have my rubber chicken here, Kristie,
What?
but I've written something called 101 ways, right, Kristie? How many ways?
Yeah, I don't know.
A
20
lot
ways,
of ways
30
to
ways.
use a rubber chicken to teach anything. So if you want that, you can email us and we can give it to you. But use props that relate to the content. So the teacher's teaching it and you might be acting it out with a puppet. Even in high school, I want you to hear that we're talking about making learning fun for all humans, and teenagers need fun right now more than anything else. And also to encourage learning without a screen, like invite students to create a poster or a collage, help people to step away even when they're learning from the screen. Kristie, I'm
Okay.
jumping to
Yep.
communication.
Go on.
Um, Oh my gosh, repeat, 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 repeat. Give clear instructions, directions. Now more than ever, make sure everything is easy to find and well organized. If you feel like you say, here's the place to get this download 1,000 times, it's because that's what humans need. Even today, we've said we're going to give you the handout at the end today. And some of you are still like, where are we going to get that handout, right? That's okay because human beings need to hear it multiple times. And then prioritize consistency, clarity, and beauty. And we called it thinking like Starbucks. So you might be like, excuse me, but this is what is going on in my mind. So I'm going to stop sharing to talk about thinking like Starbucks. If you go to a Starbucks in Oklahoma or California or Minnesota, you're going to know that they're going to have the drink that you're used to. You're going to know how they talk about the sizes. You're going to know that they're going to be really kind and they're going to write your name on the cup. You know that, right? There's a lot of things you already know, which is why whenever I travel, I don't even like Starbucks coffee. I just go because I love the consistency of the place. I'm not kidding you. I just go get a Java chip, no whip, and I think like, yeah, it's pretty good. But mostly I go because I love the interaction and I love how constant it is. Our students, especially those with disabilities, especially during a global pandemic, need super consistent, super beautiful, super kind, and repetitive support all day long.
Yep. And don't worry, folks, we'll make sure you get the rubber chicken handout. Brooks Publishing, I made a note. We'll add that in your follow-up. All
Okay,
right,
cool.
keep going, Julie. We're
Yeah,
getting
so
there.
yeah, we're
Almost
doing good.
140. This is what happens when we make lists.
I know. Kristie, am I share? Oh, I am. Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good.
This one is about invisible or silent support. So before the pandemic, I've been obsessed with helping paraprofessionals provide invisible or silent support, meaning how to provide support without sitting next to a kid, how to provide support without touching a kid, and how to provide support so that no one in the room understands that you're supporting a kid. And so these are some examples. And we have many, many more in the book. In fact, hundreds more in the book. So, and as you see, this list starts on 5 because we have tons of ideas here. The first one we'll talk about is just enlist a peer. So say, hey, Claire, can you work with Javier to find the reaction button? Great. And then put them together. That is a brilliant support. Or make sure everybody understands you're here for everyone. So instead of supporting Javier, you are here for all kids and you say, if anyone wants to see that again, I'm right here. If anyone needs that repeated, come right over here. And when I say come right over here, it might be a breakout room, or it might be a back channel, or it might be that you stay on afterwards and really help support. And then
And I'll just
Kristie,
clarify about a
yeah.
back channel. Sometimes people ask us, what do we mean by that? It just means wherever you are publicly and wholly, let's say right now we're in this webinar, but let's say I want to say something to Julie that I don't want you all to know. I can back channel her in a text message on my phone. And so it's just another way to communicate that is set up ahead of time, but doesn't get in the way of the whole group's learning.
Okay.
All right.
That was our attempt to share 140. We promise you, you'll get all of them. But we want to tell you about the book because you're here to learn about virtual ways to support, to learn about the book, and then to learn about the class that you can join us for. So I'll talk quickly about the book and then we'll jump into the class.
And
This
Julie,
book,
let's just remind everybody it's being recorded because some folks are having audio trouble.
oh, good, thanks. I can just hold the book up. This will be
Yeah,
even better.
that's better.
So, yeah, so this is the brand new, out last week, second edition of the Paraprofessionals Handbook for Effective Support in Inclusive Classrooms. It is awesome. When we created it, we put tons of visuals and reproducibles to make it fun and easy to read with, I think this book should be called 1 Million Ideas for Paraprofessionals. That's
Right.
probably what it should be called. So we want you to know that even if you don't win the book, it is worth purchasing this book or giving it to someone. If you're an administrator, many schools are getting this for their whole school system, and many school systems are meeting us in January to have a live class with us about the content of this book.
And Julie, maybe you could talk a little bit about the advice from Paris that's embedded in it. I know we're running low on time, but I saw your sticky note and I wanted
Oh,
folks to know that it's sort of by Paris for Paris, or however you might say that.
okay, yeah. So I just was, yeah. So we interviewed paraprofessionals throughout. So you'll notice that we've got student voice, we have paraprofessional voice, and we have our voice giving ideas and ideas and ideas and ideas. Here's an example of Amy. She's a paraprofessional, and I'll just read a quote that she wrote. She said, I have the power to help create an environment of acceptance and tolerance. I am a role model of acceptance and inclusivity every day. I am always thinking how I would like to be supported if I had academic challenges. I try to be supportive and also respectful of every student. And so we're using paras to share their thinking. We're utilizing students who tell us what it's like to be supported by a paraprofessional. And then we're using 20 years of best practice research to tell you how to best support students.
And the book
So,
is available, y'all, from our host today. So our host today is a great team at Brooks Publishing, and they're going to give you all kinds of links and ways that you can buy the book and save 20%, I think, on the book. So don't worry, we're going to give you links to everything. And Virginia, I hope you win too. Okay, another thing that we do is Julie and I teach a live series in January, a 4-part series where we take the book and it kind of comes alive. We get to do just like we're doing today in this hour. Julie and I will co-teach. We'll go deep into the practices. You'll have an opportunity to learn with paras from all over the world. We have a private Facebook group where you can get just-in-time questions and interactions with us. And all of these sessions are recorded. So if you're like, wait, I got to do skip counting with second graders on January 15th. Don't worry, we'll be live for an hour hanging out, having this kind of fun, but you'll be able to see each other. You'll be able to chat with each other. You'll be able to talk to us a little bit more than what you're doing today. And all of those sessions will be recorded, and you'll have lifetime access to everything that we do in January together.
right. So you might be like, wait, is this class free? It's not free.
Oh yeah.
$129 a seat. So I'm just telling you what it is. It's for the 4 classes. It's $129. And that means you get access, lifetime access, etc. Many people are saying to their superintendents and directors of special ed, I want every para in our school to have this. We also have a school license, so you don't have to pay for it. So what you want to do is make sure that your school administrators know about this and can help you. Almost all of them have a budget for this kind of training. And we had 700 paras join us last time. And if I were to explain to you what they said, it was just like, this is the most powerful support or training I've ever received in my whole career. It was pretty much what everybody was saying. And so if you join us, we would love to have you in this live class.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern time. And so when you go, Brooks Publishing, again, is going to help you get links to all of this. You can read about it. There's even a letter that you can give to your administrator or your supervisor that says, this is why I want this course for me or for everyone in our district. And you'll have all of our contact information. So you can say, wait, how do I do this in my district? Or we have 300 paras, what would we do? Or there's just me and I want to join you in January. We'll get you all of that figured out. Today, we just wanted you to know the book is available and the course is available. And then just know that between Brooks Publishing, Julie, and me, we'll get you whatever you need.
Okay. I don't think we can share what's happening in the
We have to
class.
do giveaways.
Okay, so I think we just jump right into, oh, okay. I'm going to do one thing and then a giveaway. We just
Okay.
want to share 2 students. I'll just share Otto because he's a good
Yeah,
friend of
because we
ours.
love Otto.
Yeah. So here's what Otto,
Otto's the cute one on the right. Not that his brother's not cute too.
yeah. And those t-shirts we have for sale on our site if you want one, they're fabulous. But here's the point. We asked Otto, he's a person who is brilliant and types to communicate and has autism. And I said to him, what advice would you give to paras? And here's what he said. Dear paraprofessional, please know your position is valued. Please treat your position as a profession. You are not just an anything. You are the thread that supports a day that can be seamless or completely unraveled. You serve the function of interdependence. You are an integral component to my success. If you want to know more about Otto, jump to Otto's Mottos. He's an incredible human being, but he helps us sometimes co-teach the class to make sure that everybody understands the student perspective in this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Appreciate.
look at
Okay.
us. I think we did a mic drop time-wise. So giveaways, it is time for giveaways. And I'm going to ask Brooks to show up and tell us what people need to know. I'm going to stop showing my screen.
And I think even for those of you who are listening back, there are some ways to win. So if you're like, this is boring, I can't possibly win. But Naya, let us know. What do we do?
Okay, so I was watching the questions, and I'm not sure if you guys would want to pick the winners for your class, but I did pick 5 people to win the book.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I'll go.
Kristie, will you scroll through and pick 3 winners for the class?
Yeah, so
And
what we do, it's very scientific, y'all. I close my eyes and I scroll and I then open my eyes and if your name is there and then I'll yell it out. So Brooks, you guys go first and I'll get mine with my eyes closed.
All right, so I'm going to announce the 5 winners of the book. The first one is, I apologize if I say anyone's name wrong, but
Me
yes,
too.
5 winners of the book. So Deborah Collette Crump, Virginia Howard, Regina Welsh, Carrie Giarusso, let's see, and Charmaine Thainer. I think I said that right.
yeah,
So those are our 5 people who won the book today. We will reach out to you via email at the conclusion of the webinar, so look out for that. And also, if you weren't selected in that group, we are actually having a survey that we are going to be sending out right after the webinar, so be sure to complete that, and we will pick a winner from that as well to win the book. And again, it is we'll talk more about how you can access the book and get a special offer if you didn't win as well, so you can also have access to the book. But Kristie, I'll let you pick.
Okay, I of course picked people with fabulous names like mine, meaning they're long and hard. Okay,
great.
first run is Deborah Collette and then it's hyphenated. So can you all find that?
Yep.
Deborah Collette, and then I can't see the rest is Deborah Collette -CR.
Okay.
I think I picked her as a book winner.
You did? And I wasn't
Yeah,
listening. Okay,
Okay.
Deborah
we'll have
Collette
to give away
Crump.
4 classes then. I'll figure it out. The next one is Meredith, and now Meredith, that's the easy part. The last part, you've got a Polish name, maybe like me. It's Skotni, like Nikki at the end. You got it,
Perfect.
Meredith?
Good.
All right. Next one was Abby Grimm. That one I could do. Or Gimm, Gimm. I forgot. All right. I'll scroll again. I'll go up higher. All right. How about, all right. So here's another one. I'm not sure how you guys type this in, but it's HOA and then capital LY.
Got it.
Okay.
Oh, I wrote all those down.
So all
Um,
of you, if you want access to the course, it means that you can join us for free for all 4 sessions for the course and the free lifetime dashboard and everything. So we've got all the information down from you and we'll be in touch. The last thing that we should tell people is how to get the handout of the 140 ways.
so at the conclusion of the webinar, we're actually going to include a link to the a form you can fill out to access the handout. So be sure to check your email. And then even if you watch this as a recording, we'll have access to the handout there as well for future viewers. And then if you missed this and you're watching the recording, you're going to get also a follow-up email with that same link to that handout as well. So be on the lookout for that.
So basically, they're going to get an email at some point that says, click here, put your name and email, and you'll immediately get the 140 ways as a download.
Yep.
So
and anybody who's watching live that wants it right now, we actually did link it in the chat. So feel free to click there.
Oh,
great.
okay. So
And
it's
then
in the chat is the form to let us know you want the 140 ways.
good. And so very lastly, for all of you that are still here with us, it's okay to jump off. We know it's been an hour. Our very last thing is a closing, and we would love it if you put in the question spot one word that comes to mind when you think about our time today. So what's a word that comes to mind when you think about our class today? And feel that's kind of your exit ticket for today. Oh, fabulous. People put things like helpful, valuable, realistic, respected, validated, beneficial for all, energized.
Oh, Kim, breathtaking.
Thank
Goodness,
you.
that's going
Thank
to
you,
carry
Kim.
me into the weekend.
That's right. Thank you, everybody. And then Brooks, do you have a closing for us?
We do. We have like a few slides to get through just so we can announce like where they can access the books, other resources we have. So if anyone wants to pull those,
Okay,
that'd be awesome.
great.
Yeah, and will you guys let us know if there were questions that we didn't get answered?
Yes, we can definitely, we'll have all those questions. We'll be able to look through them and send them over to you guys so you can answer
Perfect.
any of them. Okay, so I just, again, want to remind everyone that certificates of attendance are available for all webinar viewers. If you're watching this as a recording, there'll be a link that allows you to access the certificates, and then anyone who's watching right now can get it in the handouts pane and download it there. Again, just a reminder, you will be prompted to complete that survey. Be sure to fill it out. We'd love to know what you thought of today's webinar. And again, you'll be entered to win a free book. I'd also like to share that we are offering 20% off on our products, including the Paraprofessionals Handbook for Effective Support in Inclusive Classrooms, 2nd edition, through the end of January. So anyone who watches this webinar, or if you're watching the recording, you can use the code COFFEECHAT at checkout to receive this discount.
Awesome.
And then if you're looking for more professional development opportunities and webinar opportunities, be sure to visit the URL shown on your screen for the latest additions to our ongoing Coffee Chat series, and then check back regularly for more tips and guidance from the experts on the topics you care about most. And then lastly, for additional support, you can visit the link on your screen. On this page, you'll find a collection of recommended reading, downloadable resources, and professional development webinars from books and leading organizations. Again, Kristie and Julie, I just want to thank you guys. This was an amazing presentation. I'm sure everyone who won and everyone who's watching this as a recording really enjoyed it. And be sure to download that handout so you can have access to all of those tips, because I'm sure it's going to be definitely super helpful to just have on hand.
Yeah, I'll let Julie have the final word. I just wanted to say one thing that a friend posted here that I just want to affirm to everyone. In her exit ticket, she or he said that they know that they're appreciated. And so I just wanted to reiterate that all educators are appreciated, and especially our paraprofessionals. And so we're grateful, Julie and I are grateful for this opportunity to have a chance to tell you how much we appreciate you. And if someone hasn't said that to you lately, just know that we're thinking it every day. Julie?
Well, that was such a beautiful closing. I just want to say I second everything Kristie said. We think paraprofessionals do the hardest work in school settings, and we want you to have the most support available. So join us, and we love to keep working with you and making your job a little bit easier. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful break, and we hope to see you in class.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, team at Brooks. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Brianna. Thanks, Naya. Thanks, Kristie.